all I want to do in this lifetime is follow my dream. Is that so much to ask for? Then why is my father using millions of dollars to try to convince me to join the family business? I don't want any parts of it. I don't care about money. I don't. But then I discovered a little secret my father has been hiding. Ooh, it seems he hasn't paid his taxes in quite a long time. And should I expose it? Well, first let me give you some more details. Never in my life have I ever imagined that there would come a day when I would be sharing my story here. But I guess that's because I believed I would never have to go through something like that. I know that was very bold of me to assume, but I have had a pretty easy life. And as I give you guys more context, you're going to understand why. Right now, I'm in a position where I'm being forced to make a life-changing decision by my father. The problem with it is that I don't want to do what he wants me to do. But as of now, I've run out of options. So I believe that coming here might be a good idea, so let me fill you guys in first. My name's Edward. I'm 23. I come from a pretty wealthy family. So, as you can probably imagine, I've never had to worry about pretty much anything. My father, Jorge, he's 62. He's wealthy, he's a self-made, and he's the only one who took the struggling business from my grandparents and turned it into a major success. He's very smart and a great businessman. I've heard people say that when it comes to business, he had been gifted from a talent above. But as I've unnaturally learned from my experience with great talent and power, come some really crappy family relations. By that, I mean he's not really been even half as good of a father as he is in business. Although I don't have much to complain about, even when he could not be there, I've always had whatever I wanted and needed. I'm grateful for the life I've been able to live and don't blame my father in any way for being busy. But I also can't help but think about life that we had when Mom was alive. My mother, she passed away when I was 12, and my brother Alvin was 9. And since then, my father has become super focused on business. Before that, we actually had the best of both worlds. After Mother passed away, Dad became too busy with the business and expanding it and making more money. I think it was because my mom was also very involved with the business, and she and my father would make sure to spend time with us. Thinking about it now, it feels like I had a fairy tale of a life since we had everything. Don't get me wrong. My life is still good, or was good, until something happened. But with Mom, it was just better. So, as I already said, unfortunately she passed away and our lives changed drastically. Again, I didn't blame my father for this up to a certain point because I believed he was grieving too, but even after a few years, he just didn't want to look at us at all. He just made sure that we had money and probably felt it was enough. Mother's death never really changed the love and respect I had for my dad, but it definitely altered our relationship as we started speaking less and less. He would still show up from time to time, but it started feeling more like a cameo in my life than a parent. Also, it was at that time that I realized how much my father depended on my mom for parenting, because he was not good at it. But me and my brother, we managed, as he had the money thing covered, which I believe is a very important part of being a parent. But I would be lying if I said we were happy because we missed our dad, as he never really showed up when we needed him. Me and my father never fought or had problems per se, because most of the time he was just not here. The only time we ever fought was when I dropped out of business school. Ever since I was a young boy, my dad wanted me to, pull into the business school, and I could not find enough courage to tell him I didn't want to. I mean, I genuinely tried, and a year later I failed miserably and told him that I did not want to study business. That was probably the first time I'd actually seen him mad. He was mad that I was not taking this seriously, and reminded me that I had to one day take over everything, and learning was the best way to do it fast. He said if I wanted, I could just start tailing him around, and I humbly declined. He was so mad that I did not feel like it was the right time to tell him that I didn't want to go into business at all. In the end, he let it go, and I believe that I was saved, but it was just for a while. Almost a month ago, I gathered up all of my courage and told my father that I wanted to join an art school and study what I was interested in. He was only half talking to me as he was on a phone call, and he said that it was fine and he gave me his permission. Even though I was not even sure if he understood it or not, I was happy. I called up Alvin and told him, since he was the one who was pushing me to tell him and he was as happy as me. But only a week later I was hit with the harsh reality as I found out that my father had simply not understood what I had told him at all. It was only when he spoke with Alvin that he realized that I had told him. He immediately graced me with his presence and told me that I was being stupid. He said that he could not believe that this was the reason I had left business school. He said that by the end of the month he strictly wanted me following him around, learning business instead of doing this nonsense. I definitely felt hurt hearing my dad say that my passion was stupid and a big waste of time. I told him that this would make me very happy and I was not that interested in business. The way he reacted to this sentence felt like I had flipped him off and told him that he was not my real father. He was in disbelief and started throwing things around, telling me that he did not raise me to be a scaredy cat of business. He also did not raise me to fool around outside going stupid. He raised me to be a better man than him, and what he did, and he was going to turn me into a great businessman, whether I liked it or not. Then he gave me the rest of the month to agree to his demands, and I left. Guys, I'm not gonna lie. I cried that day, because my father just openly insulted what I wanted to do. He told me that I was useless, and I could not do what he did. But after a few days, I still kept up hope that if I showed him that I was serious about it, he would probably let me do what I wanted. Alvin recommended the same thing. He also told me that I should do what I wanted because if I forced myself, I would turn out to be a mediocre businessman with an unhappy life. So I kept my hopes up, which were crushed instantly almost a week later during a relative's wedding ceremony. At the wedding, while making the speech out of nowhere, my father announced that at the end of this year, I would be taking over a part of his business. As soon as I heard this, I almost fell unconscious because I was not prepared to hear it, honestly. Not at all. And my brother had to hold me. He said that it was time his older son started taking over. I kid you not, it felt like a speech from the Game of Thrones series or something. And people were very happy. It was like they were massive fans of me, given how happily they cheered, not knowing that I had no interest in this at all. I left the wedding before they called me on stage, and my father was pretty mad I did that. I didn't answer his phone for a few days, as I did not want to speak to him, just because he put me in the position without speaking to me once about it. It felt like I had no right to decide what I could and could not do in my life. Guys, a few days ago, he came back from a meeting in another state. He came to see me, and I made it crystal clear to him that I was not going to do what he wanted. I told him that I had no interest in taking over the business, and that I was not good to listen to him. I also explained to him that my brother was a good candidate, since he wanted to do business and I would not be able to do it well. His face went red for a second, but he calmed down instantly and in a very calm but scary tone said this to me. He said that he was never going to send me to art school, and if I did not do what he said, he was going to cut me off financially and make me pay for the rent and food. He also added that this would also mean cutting the funding to all the animal shelters me and my brother started a few years back. He said that me and my brother had no choice or say in the matter, as we were born to take over his empire whether we liked it or not. I told him he was not going to do this and that this was just plain out cruel. He said that a hint of what reality is like is going to make me understand what exactly he's trying to do. The world is a lot crueler than I could ever think. After that, no matter how much I pleaded, he refused to listen to me and left. He's given me 2 weeks to decide, and I just understand how funny it is that even after being this wealthy, I still can't follow my dreams. Now, I've never worked a job and have no money saved, which would also not help me in this situation at all. But still, also, I can't let all the animals and people down who depend on our shelter, because I know for sure my father is the type of guy who would do it. It's clear to me that I have no other option than to accept his demands, but I still wanted to try and see if I could find something. So, if you have any suggestions, please leave them below. I'll be very thankful for any help whatsoever. Update number 1. Hey guys, it's been a few weeks since my last update, and unfortunately things did not go my way. If you remember my last post, my father was essentially forcing me to join him in the business, even though I wanted to go to art school. He gave me an ultimatum to either join him or he would cut me off financially, and I would have to look after myself. Firstly, I want to thank you guys for your suggestions and support. I was not expecting the kind of response I got, and I believed that I would get dragged by you guys for being rich and complaining. But I was surprised to see many people try to genuinely help me. Okay, back to the update. After my post, Alvin came home for a while and tried to help me come up with a solution. But no matter how much we thought, we could not come up with a way that would end up with me studying happily. Like I already said in my last post, realistically, I didn't have any options. I wanted to give up and accept my fate, as fighting my father was not really going to do anything other than make my life hard. I'm not scared of working to make a living for myself, and I have thousands of people with whom I could stay. But it's not like, by doing this, I would be able to go to art school. So in the end, I would just be making my life hard by saying no to my father. But Alvin, he refused to let me quit and told me that he would try to convince my father, and if he wanted to, he would start working with him. I told him that I didn't want to rope him into this. He was busy studying, and I didn't want him to lose focus from that. Also, my dad is not the kind of person to easily switch targets, and he's not going to let me go. He knows that my brother is bound to follow him because of his interest in business, and this is why I knew that he would never agree. Still, I let my brother try because he was so confident that he could convince my dad. A few days later, he met his father and had a big argument with him, but he could not change his mind, and my dad kept telling him that he was not going to let him do something so useless, and that he would rather let me jump off a cliff. So, guys, at this point, I was sure that there was no way to change his mind. Then the day of the decision came, and I showed up at his office to agree with his demands. I still tried to convince him one last time and even told him that I would work part-time if he just let me follow my passion. But he said that he did not want me to be half-butting this and wanted me to completely focus on it. Well, I even asked him if Mom was here and if, she would let him do this. And he just said that she isn't here, so it doesn't matter. He asked me to make a choice, all the good I could do with the money I had. Things like shelters, just by choosing and doing business, or I could live a poor life without anybody's support. So, as you can imagine, I had to agree to everything and have been studying everything he does so that I can start working with him. I still have a few weeks of study left before I can officially join. I lost, and I apologized if I disappointed anybody who wanted me to stand up for myself. It scared me to think that I would have to survive on my own. I tried my best, I did, but I guess I was just meant to be in business and nothing else. That's what I've told myself, at least. Not to feel like my dreams have been absolutely crushed. Updates number 2. Hey guys, I understand if this update comes as a surprise to you because I wasn't expecting to write another. After my last update, I assumed that I would continue doing what my father asked until I took over something. Everything. And even though I did not want to, I would have to live the boring life of a businessman. Also, I was assuming that I had enough interest to become good at it. Otherwise, I would just have to depend on my brother to do everything, which would probably become the best example of nepotism. It's only been 2 weeks, and I've discovered something that I believe will be able to earn my freedom. But it's a double-edged sword because what I have to do is probably considered to be a little immoral. Since I'm in a dilemma, I thought I should ask you guys what to do. If you remember the last update, I told you that I was studying up on everything Father did. What he owned, what he operated, and honestly I had close to no idea what our father actually did or how many things he owned and operated. I know it's a little embarrassing to admit it, but as I've probably already made it crystal clear, I was never interested in our business. As I was skimming through files that were sent to me to understand the internal workings of the business, I managed to catch a name that caught my eye. It wouldn't have got my attention, but it did, because the 2 companies were named after me and my brother. I felt that this was a bit weird and too official to be a mistake, so I looked into it online. It was really weird because if he had a company named after us that we had found out about, we would, right? At this point, I felt like something was going on. So I looked into those companies and I found a few things, but I could not understand what it was saying. So I showed it to Alvin and he told me that they were shell companies, set up with our name. For anybody who doesn't exactly know a shell company, they're used to do a lot of illegal stuff, including tax evasion, money laundering, you name it. Alvin and I could not believe it and tried to think of excuses, but we had to accept that it was real. Also, we both knew that there was no way a thing like this could have been done behind Dad's back, so there was no way that we didn't know about this. Alvin still refused to accept that our father could do this, and I told him that I was going to try to find some proof. Although I've not looked for proof yet, I know that my father is involved in this, and he's definitely guilty of at least tax fraud and probably much more. So the problem I have is that I'm thinking of collecting proof of this and blackmailing my father into letting me do what I want to do without him butting in. The thing is, this would mean that I would be blackmailing my dad using an illegal activity. Yeah, which is, I'm feeling selfish and wrong of a thing to do. I also have not told my brother about what I think I should do, because he might also tell me it's wrong. Please, guys, drop it down. Let me know. What I'm doing, is it right or is it wrong? Update number 3. Hey guys, it's been a week. I finally made a decision and gotten the proof. For anybody wondering, yes, my father has been evading taxes, and unfortunately, there was just the start of it. Turns out father was not as good of a person as my brother and me, and definitely not a great person as I took him for. I was hoping that tax fraud was the only thing my father was up to, but reality had a different story. So after my last update, I spoke with Alvin and told him that I was going to find proof and confront our dad. Well, he agreed and said that our father needed to stop doing this, that I was doing a good thing by standing up against him, and that he was with me till the end. Then, in a small voice, I told him that I wanted to blackmail my father into letting me do what I wanted, and he gets mad at me. He refused to talk to me for a few days, after which he cooled down, understood the opportunity I had, and told me that he was okay with doing it as long as I stopped my father from continuing his activities. It made me very happy that he was with me, because without him, I would not be able to make this decision. So after that, I was pretty sure that this was the best thing to do in the situation I was in. And I kept telling myself that my own father tried blackmailing me, so it was only fair. Yesterday, I went to the office after telling Dad I wanted to spend a day there, as it would help me learn about their work better. My father gave me a complete access, and I started looking for anything related to the shell companies. But even after searching for hours, I could not find anything mentioning the companies, which made sense since it was meant to be hidden. After a while, since I was getting desperate, I decided to make a risky move. I went to Charles, who was more or less the second in command of the company I was in, and I was sure that he knew where the papers were. I was sure that if my plan did not work, everything would just blow up in my face, but I was prepared for it. So, I went into his office and asked him where the papers were for the companies named after me and my brother. He asked me if Dad told me about this, and I said that he probably wanted me to figure it out by myself, which I did. I told him that he would not have chosen me as a successor if I could not figure out this much. He was happy with my response and believed me. He gave me the papers and asked him not to tell my father about this since I wanted to tell him myself. He was happy keeping the little secret between us, and told me he was looking forward to working with me even. What a fool. Well, he can keep looking because I'm not going to work there ever. The papers told me that our father used companies' names after us to do most illegal stuff. He was not only evading taxes, but was laundering money for probably God knows what kind of people. And as I did more research, I also found out that he was funding pharmaceutical companies that sell low-grade medicine in poor countries and raking in a profit. He also did insider trading and a few other illegal stuff I'm ashamed to even talk about. I can't believe that this man is committing crimes like it's a competition. Ugh. Please don't tell me not to be surprised. I actually thought my dad was different. Since my mom passed away, Dad's not been the best person in our life, but I've always believed that he did good in business, even if he wasn't equally good to us. I'm seeing my father in a new light, and, well, I'm going to see him in a few days, and I'm going to confront him about everything and make him agree to my demands. Hopefully everything works out well. Yeah, I'm scared. Please wish me luck. Update number 4. Hey guys, well, I'm just honestly sorry that it's been a few months, but I had to wait for something before I could write this update. So, as you probably remember, last time I'd finally gotten proof and was about to confront my father and blackmail him to get what I wanted. Well, this is how it went. I asked my dad to come to the house and told him I had something important to discuss. He dropped by and asked me what the problem was, and I didn't play any games with him, and I straight away told him that I had found out about the shell company that he created in our names and the crimes that he was committing. I had to admit he's probably very good at negotiating because even after I sprung this on him, he showed no signs of surprise. He says that he did not understand what I was talking about and refused to admit that he knew about the companies and the crimes. He looked very confident until I showed him the proof, at which point he started to get irate. He starts asking me how I got these papers, and I told him it wasn't important. I asked him how he could do this to Mom and us. I told him that no matter what he would do, I would always think that he was a good guy, but he turned out to be a criminal. I had tears in my eyes. I was disgusted with him, and I said to him that I wanted him to immediately stop all of these things and never indulge in anything like this again. Secondly, I wanted him to give me and my brother all the money we needed to sustain ourselves while also funding our education. He told me that I had no idea the kind of damage it was going to do to our profits and how much our business would suffer. So I asked him what would damage his profits more if he stopped these things or if I told the world he did these things. And you can imagine that it was pretty easy of a choice. He told me that he would send me wherever I wanted if I agreed to let him continue, but I did not budge. I reminded him that he built this company with Mom, and that if she was here and found out all of this, she would die from a heart attack. I think this got him a little bit because he didn't say anything and just left. A few hours later, he pretended to agree to my demands and gave me a disturbingly huge amount of money. It was a lot more than I had asked for, and he told me that he did not want us to suffer anyway. He was trying to buy my silence, so I sent the extra amount back and told him I was only taking the amount we needed and deserved. I told him that I was never going to contact him again and he would never see me again because I'd already called Grandma on my mom's side and she asked me to move in with her. Naturally, Alvin came along too and he was so mad at Dad. Turns out when Dad tried to explain to Alvin, he told him that he doesn't want a dad like him. He also cut Father off and just moved in with me. After about a few weeks, I was happy to leave my father alone, but my brother told me that he had not stopped anything. And when my brother had asked him to have some shame, Father told him to stay in his place and let him run his own business. So both of us made the decision that we could not let Dad get away with all this. It was hard to make it, but, no matter what, he was our dad. But we also could not let him keep on doing all this. So I sent every bit of evidence I had to the authorities and exposed my father of his shady ways. Well, it turns out that he had a lot more skeletons buried in his closet, and he had to pay all for it. His entire empire, which was so proud, went down like a poorly constructed building in a major earthquake. My father tried to call me while all of this was happening, but I ignored him because he wasn't my family anymore. In the span of a few months, my father went from being extremely successful to having no money and no family. I don't know what he's doing now, and neither do I care. Both Alvin and I are very happy because this is what we wanted. So, in a few months' time, I'm going to art school. And lastly, I wanted to thank you guys for the support. I could not have done this without you. Thank you. There's this one comment that I want to read, and a lot of people agreed with it. I was surprised at it, but here you go. Henry Allen 232 says, OP, you're not in the right here. You're not, and neither is your father. I think everybody in this post sucks. Both of you guys did the wrong thing entirely. I like how you tried to guilt trip your father by telling him what your mom would think of all this. Well, then, what would she think of you using the money you took from your dad? If your dad was never clean, then money isn't clean either. I never knew your mom, but I believe that she would think that it was wrong to do that. If you wanted to follow your passion so badly, you could have just done it without doing all of this. Guys, I would love to know your thoughts on that. Drop it down below. Do you agree or not? If you do, tell me why. Anyways, guys, my name's Mr. Reddito, and if you're new to the channel, welcome. Don't forget to subscribe for daily videos. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow, and of course, remember, it's cool to be kind. Peace.